All right, here we are, y'all. We're back. Okay, here's our textbook for these presentations. I guess I can call it a class, right? Or a course. But anyway, here we are. This is the Zodiac and the Gospels. Uh, the Zodiac, yes, the Zodiac and the Gospels. The secret truth about JC. So maybe it's better to do it this way. All right, the Zodiac and the Gospels. The secret truth about JC, the Christ figure, by the Reverend Bill Darrell-El. All right, by the Reverend Bill Darrell-El. So we're on Virgo now. So here's the symbology for Virgo, the motif. Can y'all see that? Virgo. Here's the motif, the sign, okay, and here's the image or illustration, Virgo. All right, take a look at it, study the image, see if you see anything interesting. Study the details, all right, study the details. Put it in the comment section, okay? Whatever details you see that are interesting. Interesting meaning odd, unusual, out of place, etc. Or, something that gets your attention. Put it in the comment section. All right, so the rules are, if you stay longer than 5 minutes, like and share the video. Also, if you've been here more than once and you stayed more than 5 minutes, subscribe. All right? If not, if you don't want to do those things, I'm inviting you to leave. Okay, no one-way streets this way. All right? So, let us begin. This is Virgo. So this part, Virgo is coming out of the section Mark, verse 9. Chapter 9, rather. Mark, chapter 9, verse 30. Through verse 50. All right, so Virgo section in Mark is only 20 verses. Mark 9, 30 through 50. All right, and we see here the beginner's mind. So the quotation here is the soul, S-O-L-E. The sole meaning of life is to serve humanity. Now, of course, humanity has to do with the humans, Han Uman, the half monkey, half man, Raphaim. Okay, this is the hybrid troglodyte niggers, the created creatures from Genesis chapter 1. So those Elohim would have been Moors. Okay, M-O-O-R-S. Along with, thank you. Do you have, there would have been Moors, singularly, or on a team with Raphaim, Oannes, okay, Dogon, half fish, half man deity. All right, so go back and watch my presentations on those topics, and you get everything that that I put out on those topics. It'll make sense to you if you don't know what I'm talking about. If you don't know what I'm talking about, that means you need to watch all of the content here. All right? It'll become crystal clear to you. So someone commented on one of the videos, they called me a blasphemer. So you see how foolish religion makes you. Ma'am, excuse me, ma'am, do you have tea with ice? Ma'am? You see how foolish religion makes you, right? Resort to name calling and judging, and they don't know anything. They don't have a clue about what these presentations are about. Thank you. I think that was the anointed one. Who put that comment? So when I saw it, I laughed. So that person probably doesn't know anything about astrotheology, doesn't know anything about the zodiac in the Gospels. Probably didn't even watch the whole video. Probably saw the title. I don't know, but it's funny. All right, y'all. Let's get started. Virgo and Mercury. Oh, let me go back. So the soul, S-O-L-E, meaning of life is to serve humanity. All right. This is a quote coming from Leo Tolstoy, who was born on September 9th, 1828. So his sign would have been a Virgo. So I've already went through this about what type of statistical analysis you have to do in order to be able to, at least in today's science, to be able to know if there's anything to this business about birthdays and personalities, okay? So in modern science, we'd have to have a huge population going across thousands of years. We'd have to know when these people were born, right? What their zodiac signs were. And we'd have to know about their lives so that you can do a statistical analysis to see if it pans out, okay? But of course, we don't have that information. So for now, let's just do what you want with it. I don't accept it, right? Maybe I'm wrong, but I just don't, because I'd be doing it on blind faith, right? And I don't do that. Okay, so our first paragraph, we're on page 130, y'all. We noted in this chapter that Aries, let me repeat that, we noted in the chapter on Aries that in the ancient world, Virgo was considered to be the leading constellation in the zodiac circle. That's a key point here. We noted in the chapter on Aries that in the ancient world, Virgo was considered to be the leading constellation in the zodiac circle. So now we need to know, why did they switch it from Virgo and change it into Aries? So let's see if the author is going to tell us this. Because if there's not a good reason or a valid reason, then that means that the beginning of the constellations should be Virgo. In other words, it should go back to what it was in ancient times, right? We correct it. But let's see. The association of Virgo with birth and children makes it an appropriate starting point for any symbolic account of the spiritual journey. Our spiritual life. So y'all take this spiritual journey and spiritual life with a grain of salt. It doesn't mean anything. Okay, if you go by the Hebrew meaning of spirit, we're talking about breath. Okay? So this is a connotative meaning. All right? Our spiritual life begins not with our natural birth, but with our rebirth, which is not brought about by the physical urges, but by the spirit of capital G-O-D working within us. So we already see that this is a doctrine and we need to scrap it, right? I'm assuming that the rebirth they're talking about is the Christian view of rebirth, right? Which is baptism, however, whatever form that might take, but being born again. Let me put it like that. I'm assuming that that's what he's talking about. And why is that? Well, because this is zodiac in the Gospels. But also this phrase, spirit of capital G-O-D. Anyway, let's continue. Let's see what he has to say. Unless a man is born again, says JC to Nicodemus, he cannot see the kingdom of God. Now notice the author has already conceded that the kingdom of God is within, and that the only way to reconcile the fact that JC, the Christ figure, never fulfilled the role of Messiah as expected by, quote unquote, the Jews, you then have to take the Gospels as being poetry, meaning that JC never lived as a man or as a human on planet Earth. Okay, in other words, he's a mythological character. Okay, so clearly you can see that if the Christ is in you, and the kingdom of capital G-O-D is in you, you would not be able to see it with your physical eyes externally, right? But anyway, let's continue. Quote, he cannot see the kingdom of capital G-O-D. That's John 3, verse 3. The Jews called, hold on. The Jews called this harvest. So we'll go to the footnote in a second. The Jews called this harvest constellation Beth-Ula and associated it with the tribe of Asher, of whom Jacob had declared, quote, his bread shall be fat, end quote. Genesis 49, verse 20. Symbolically, Virgo is the house of bread, quote unquote, house of bread, right? Y'all remember that from the devil's pulpit? You should. Virgo is quote unquote the house of bread, which in Hebrew is Bethlehem. Beth means house. Lachem means bread. Again, Beth means house, and Lachem, bread, where we become quote unquote children once more, stripped of our pretensions and cynicism, and open to the promptings of the Spirit. Wow, that says a whole lot. I'm going to finish this paragraph off and then go back to the footnote, okay? But again, Bethlehem is the place where you become children again, okay? You become childlike again. The Gospels of Matthew and Luke are both prefaced with stories in which these themes are prominent. Okay, becoming children again are prominent themes in Mark and Luke. Mark, who has chosen to structure his narrative around the yearly cycle beginning with Aries, has to introduce them halfway through. All right, okay. So it appears that, well, no, let me not say it. Let's go to the footnote. We'll try to get as much covered here as possible. The footnote on page 130 reads, it could well be that the original gospel, the saying of Jesus concerning the harvest truly is great, but the laborers are few. Pray ye to the Lord of the harvest that he would send forth laborers into his harvest. Okay, so that's the end of the quote. All right, this occurred, well, let me repeat that. That quotation occurred in this Virgo section. All right? Now that's very interesting. All right, so let's continue. Luke has Jesus saying this in chapter 10, verse 2. Sorry, y'all, I'm having a hard time reading because the print is so poor. It says here, just a little after JC has set a child before the disciples. Okay, Luke 9:46 through 48. I don't know about y'all, but I got to go through that again because I didn't get it. I get it. All right. So let's do this again. I'm going to go back. By the way, we're in Virgo and Mercury. Okay, the association of Virgo with birth and children makes it an important I wish I would have had the camera so y'all could see what just happened. Someone just did their morning ritual to their ancestors. Every place in Vietnam, they have like a little shrine, and they have incense. They have incense like we use in the States, right? And they put, I think it's 3 incense in their hands like this, and then they say whatever they're saying to their ancestors. Usually it's asking for good health and good luck and stuff like that. But someone just did it. But anyway, let's continue. The association of Virgo with birth and children, that's the key point to remember. Remember, the author says that in ancient times, Virgo was the beginning or was the first zodiac. So that means that the natural year would have begun in Virgo, not Aries. Not Aries. So you should know that the natural new year will begin somewhere around, I believe it's this year, 2023, March 20th will be the natural new year or the spring equinox. All right? So the author is saying here that no, the natural year began in September. Is that clear? Anyway, let's continue. In other words, it began in Virgo. All right. The association of Virgo with birth and children makes it an appropriate starting point for any symbolic account of the spiritual journey. Note that Virgo and spirituality are being spoken of as equivalents. As equivalents. The zodiac, according to this author, is spiritual. Y'all see that? All right, let's continue. Our spiritual life begins not with our natural birth, but with our rebirth. So this is again a Christian doctrine, which is not brought about by physical urges, but by the spirit of capital G-O-D working within us. Unless a man, and here's a quote, unless a man is born again, JC says to Nicodemus, he cannot see the kingdom of capital G-O-D. So that quote comes from John chapter 3, verse 3. The Jews called this harvest constellation. He's talking about Virgo. So the Jews called Virgo, the harvest constellation, Bethula, and associated it with the tribe of Asher. So therefore, Bethula is Virgo, and Virgo is associated with the tribe of Asher, of whom Jacob had declared, quote, his bread shall be fat, end quote, Genesis chapter 49, verse 20. So now let's go to the footnote again so I can go through it again. We're going to talk about the harvest constellation, Bethua, this is Virgo. So the footnote reads here, it could well be that in the original Gospels, what original? The original Gospels that the Coptic Egyptians pen. Is that what they're talking about? Or are they talking about when the Coptic Egyptian Gospels were translated into Latin? So the original Latin? Or is he talking about when the Latin translation of the Coptic text was translated into Greek? Is he talking about that or something else? We don't know, right? But we do know we are able to distinguish, right? We are able to differentiate and distinguish that there are three, at least four possibilities. We just covered them. It could well be that in the original gospel, the saying of JC concerning the harvest, okay, so he's talking about the saying at John chapter 3, verse 3. Quote, the harvest truly is great, but the laborers are few. Pray ye that the Lord of the harvest, that he would send forth laborers into his harvest. Okay? So this is very likely in the original gospel would have occurred in September. As y'all can see, let me show you. It says it would have occurred in Virgo. Y'all see that? It would have occurred in Virgo. So y'all can stop this and play it back. But the link to the free PDF is also, thank you. The link to the free PDF is also in the description area of the video, so you can print this and download it and print it. All right? But anyway, let's continue. Luke has JC say this in chapter 10, verse 2. Just a little after JC has set a child before the disciples. So the child symbolizes Virgo, right? Why? Because Virgo has to do again with the birth of children. Y'all got that? Right here. So that's why the author is linking. This is why the author is linking it. All right? So go back and you can pause the video. So let's continue. Okay, page 131. We'll continue. The ancient zodiacs invariably depict Virgo as a woman holding something. In the Egyptian zodiac of Dendera, Denderah, for example, the figure is drawn carrying a staff. Okay, so in the Egyptian zodiac, Dendera would be Virgo, and she's carrying a staff. Okay, carrying a distaff, Distaff, and when she represents the Egyptian goddess Isis. So Isis is Virgo. She appears with wheat ears in her hand. So when y'all see the zodiac sign of Virgo and she has the plant, right, that's actually Isis. And that's wheat ears or corn ears, right? So let's continue. Or clasping the young Horus in her arms. So this is also the equivalent of Virgo. All right, Isis and Horus. This is Virgo. Virgo with the child, or the zodiac sign Virgo, and she has wheat in her hand or corn in her hand. All right. So let's continue. In the Middle Ages, this ancient figure reappeared as the Virgin Mary. So the Virgin Mary in Christianity is also Virgo, is also Dendera, is also Isis. All right, y'all? With the child, Jesus. And in Titus Andronicus, Shakespeare alludes to it as the, quote, the good boy in Virgo's lap, end quote. So here we see the equivalent deities, all right? Right there. across Christianity, the Egyptian spiritual system, and in the remixed zodiac. All right, and in the remixed zodiac. Okay, let's continue. The image of Isis with Horus in her arms has become, in the Christian iconography, the Virgin Mary. The Virgin Mary carrying the child Jesus. Now, this is a Christian, let me show. This is a Christian scholar who says that. All right? It's a Christian scholar. But this is widely known information anyway. The point I'm trying to make is that it's not me saying it. You don't have to believe me. Ask the white man. Ask the white man. Okay? I always wonder why people get mad about deities, right? Why would you get mad about the deity? It's supposed to be the other way around. The deity is supposed to be mad when someone says something about you that it doesn't like, right? They're supposed to be your protector, not you protecting it. Anyway, let's continue. When you stand before the Cathedral of Chartres, you will see over one of the portals of the western front image of the Madonna as the throne upon which the child Jesus sits and blesses the world as its emperor. That is precisely the image that has come down to us from most ancient Egypt. The early fathers and the early artists took over these images intentionally, all right? So in other words, that iconography, those images were done on purpose, okay? All of this was done on purpose. So this notion that, and by the way, at this time, it wasn't hybrid troglodytes doing all of this, okay? These would have been either melanated, if y'all want to call them that, melanated hybrids or Moors, or both, right? That's right. They were not in power. That's a myth. They were not in power at this time, all right? So anyway, that quote came from Campbell, 1988, page 222. So that's academic dishonesty. All of this stuff about the hybrids being in power and, you know, all of that history is a bunch of malarkey. But you don't have to accept that because that has nothing to do with the truth of what I'm saying. I'm just throwing it in there. The fact of the matter is that it was done intentionally, okay? It was done intentionally. And it's not something where they got our records and they and the devil wanted to keep you away from the knowledge, so he changed that. No, it's not that. It has nothing to do with what the devil planned on doing. And I know that because this person y'all call the devil doesn't exist. Okay? That's something that they made up. But I've gone through that. Watch the other astrotheology videos. All right? There's no physical living person externally to you who is a devil. When you behave devilishly, you're a devil. All right? Period. Okay, Albertus Magnus, 13th century, taught that JC was born under the sign of Virgo. Y'all got that? JC was born under the sign of Virgo. There you have the woman with child again. Equally ancient and equally unlikely is the idea that the glyph of Virgo is composed of the initials of the Blessed Virgin Mary. MV, Mary Virgo, quote unquote, Maria Virgo rather. Maria Virgo. Y'all got that? Let me show you the glyph. Here's the glyph he's talking about. Right there, the shaded one, right there. Maria Virgo. Okay? 1 second, let me turn back. Hold on, let me get my pages together. All right. Okay, so that's ancient, y'all. That's very ancient. Equally ancient and equally unlikely. So it's ancient and unlikely. Well, I take that with a grain of salt, right? Is the idea that the glyph of Virgo is composed of the initials of the Blessed Virgin, MV Maria Virgo. But the association of this constellation with Mary is more ancient than either of these quaint notions, as the calendar of the Roman Catholic Church testifies. Okay, so the evidence is in the Roman Catholic Church calendar. The Feast of the Assumption of the Virgin is celebrated on August 15th. Every year, August 15th, they celebrate the Assumption of the Virgin Mary, Maria Virgo. All right? It's on their calendar. Go back into the Devil's Pulpit. He gives some information on this. You'll see all of the Christian holidays and their astro-theological relation in the Devil's Pulpit. The free link is in the description area of the video, so y'all go back and get it. You'll see how all of these holidays work out astro-theologically. All right. And the birth of the Virgin, get this, and the birth of the Virgin on September 8th. The birth of the Virgin, or Virgo, the birth of the Virgin Mary, Maria Virgo, is September 8th. Y'all got that? Mary was born on September 8th, according to the Roman Catholic calendar. On or around the first of these dates, as the SUN sun leaves the constellation Leo and approaches Virgo, the powerful rays of the rising sun apparently eliminate the fainter lights from Virgo stars. The Virgin is quote unquote assumed, assumption, right? The Assumption of the Virgin, the Feast of the Assumption of the Virgin. Okay? Y'all got the relation? That's the name. That's why they name it the Assumption of the Virgin. Why? Because when the sun exits the constellation Leo, remember Leo, the sun is at its most intense in terms of heating up the earth. It's leaving Leo, going into Virgo, and its brightness overcomes, or it's so bright that you can't see Virgo. That's what the author is saying. All right? So let's go back into it. I hope everyone understands that. The sun coming out of Leo is so bright that you cannot see Virgo. Let me read it again. As the sun leaves the constellation Leo and approaches Virgo, the powerful rays of the rising sun apparently eliminates the fainter lights from Virgo stars. All right? And then there's a colon. The Virgin is assumed in the glory of the sun. Or, as the book of Revelation has it, she is clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and a crown of 12 stars on her head. That's Revelations 12, verse 12. All right? So this is saying that the sun is so bright that some of the fainter stars in Virgo you cannot see because they're overshined, right? They're overshined by the sun. So the sun is clothing them with its brightness. You cannot see them. So that's the assumption. Y'all got it? That's the feast of the Assumption of the Virgin. That correlates. You have the equivalent physical event. Let me repeat that. You have the equivalent physical or astrological event documented at Revelation chapter 12, verse 12. So make the association, keep it in your mind. Revelation chapter 12, verse 12 is the feast of the Assumption of the Virgin, documented and recorded on the Roman Catholic Church's calendar. What event is it? It is when the sun exits Leo and its brilliant, shining light outshines some of the fainter stars in the constellation of Virgo. Hence, those fainter stars, being in Virgo, are said to be clothed with the sun. In other words, they're covered up, right? My clothes cover my flesh, right? So the brightness of the sun covers those fainter stars in Virgo. Period. And that has been remixed into a religious doctrine. Y'all got it? That's the remix. Right? Remember how back when we were young, well, my time was the late 80s, 90s. Right? We had the DJ mixing. Remember? This is a remix. Y'all remember how they would remix songs from the 70s? Atomic Dog, Rick James, right? All that remixing or mixing. This is what they're doing with astrology and theology. It's a remix, okay? Same song, but remixed. And they add some new stuff, right? A lot of Snoop's stuff back in the day. Snoop Dogg, right? That was a remix. But y'all know what I'm saying. If you're old enough to know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. But anyway, let's move on. So the mystery of Revelation chapter 12, verse 12 is actually not a mystery at all amongst the people who know astrotheology. All right? No mystery at all. On April 8th, the Virgin is quote unquote born as her stars once more become visible at sunrise. All right? So, the sun exiting Leo, so brilliant, covers over or outshines the fainter stars in Virgo, and then when the sun is coming up on April 8th, now you can see all of Virgo. Why? Because the sun kept moving. The sun kept moving along its orbit or ecliptic. Y'all see that? So, what do they say? They say that the Virgin Mary was born on September 8th. Why? Because at sunrise, you can see the entire constellation. The fainter, in other words, the fainter stars that make up Virgo are now visible. Very simple, right? Visible at sunrise, April 8th. Okay, there's a footnote here. It reads, owing to the precision of the equinoxes, these dates no longer apply. Now, the sun passes through this constellation from mid-September to late October. Okay. All right, so that's clear enough. I don't need to go through that. But take some time to learn about the precision of the equinoxes, y'all. I think I'll do when I get an opportunity, I'll do a video on that. All right. All right. So here, let's continue. Mary's Virgoian or Virgoan. I'm just gonna start saying Virgo, y'all. Mary's Virgo qualities can be found in the Gospel of Luke, where she is portrayed as the quote-unquote handmaid or slave of the Lord. Luke chapter 1, verse 38. One who embodies the great virtues of humility, service, and self-effacement. Manilius gives us a picture of this aspect of the nature of Virgo. But modest Virgo's rays gives polished parts, talking about the constellation, and fill men's breast with honesty and arts. No tricks for gain, no love for wealth dispense, but piercing thoughts and winning eloquence, but bashful modesty cast down their eyes. The best of vices, yet 'tis still a vice, because it strifles, checks or nips like frost, a blooming virtue, and the fruit is lost. So this is coming from Manilius in the year 1697, page 125 and 126. So Mary appears here to be chaste and honest, right? All right. Honest. All right. Well, I'm not going to say anything more about these great virtues of humility, service, and self-effacement. Y'all know, I think you should know if you've been with me for my presentations, I think you should know that this idea of self-effacement, scrap it, it's toxic. It sounds good on paper. It's very idealistic, but it does not work in real life. It's not practical. Okay, y'all? Anyway, let's continue. How many minutes are we in? Okay. So let's continue. Modesty, which Manilius sees as both the strength and weakness of the sign Virgo, is a key characteristic of Virgo, sharply contrasting the assertiveness and bombast usually associated with Leo. Virgo is an earth sign connected with the harvest. And y'all should note, that the harvest is the climactic part of the year. Everything that happens during a year is to set up the harvest. Okay? Everything is about the harvest. Okay, so keep that in mind. So let's say if making love or the sex act, that act, okay? The idea is what? Orgasm. So the harvest would be the orgasm. All right? It's the climactic part of the year for which all other things are purposed. All other things are for the harvest, okay? So let's continue. Take note of what I mean. All other things are for the harvest. That would be what? For the mother to do what? To give birth. Right? Mother Earth gives birth to all vegetation. Right? And then all fleshly animals, all insects, everything else can live off of that. Okay? So here we have the Moabite woman. The Moabite woman. All right? So in other words, all things are for the Moabite woman. All things are for the Moorish woman. Now y'all don't get messed up in your mind because I'm using the word Moabite. Okay? Genesis chapter 2. That's the what? The woman who is made from the soil. The Moor. Moors, anciently, when you go back, Moabite, etc., etc. But let's not get stuck on that, all right? Y'all can figure that out on your own. Why do I go back to Moabite? Because when you talk Moor, some people get it twisted. Some people get it twisted. They think it's a religion, or they associate it with Islam as a religion. Well, let's take it beyond or further back, right? Before there ever was an Islamic religion, before the idea of a prophet Muhammad ever came. All right, let's go back to Moabite. All right, and those of you who know history, you'll know what the other nations are and what the stories are associated with that. Clear? All right, if you don't know, go back and research it. Too much to talk about right here. All right, so Virgo is an earth sign connected with the harvest, but it is also a mutable sign. Y'all might note that, remember, Virgo, actually what's in her hand is corn. All right, corn. So connect that corn to a landmass. Okay, and then you can start taking note of what's a doctrine and what's not a doctrine regarding that topic. And I'm intentionally speaking elusively. So those of you who know, you know. And those of you who don't know, you don't know. But it's easy to find out if you just check into it. You'll immediately know what I'm talking about. Okay, you'll see that this is also the term wheat and corn has been intentionally confused in the lexicons. All right, so get that straight with your land masses. And mutability and earth are strange bedfellows. Earth is the element that responds least well to change. Now, I would disagree with that also, being a scientist. I totally disagree with that. The earth responds tremendously well to change. And love of variety is not as evident in Virgo as it is in the other mutable signs. Well, now, there are untold varieties of known life forms and those that have been and are being newly discovered. However, the earth is not kind to hybrids. The earth is not kind to hybrids. So, hybrids tend to die off. That's what I'm saying. So this is what the author is talking about. Mother Earth is not kind to hybrids. They tend to die off. Y'all see that? It says Earth is the element that responds least well to change. So now it appears to me that the author is referencing Hanuman and other hybrids. The Earth is the element that responds least well to hybridization of autochthonous life forms. Got it? And love of variety is not as evident in Virgo. So in other words, Mother Earth does not want hybrids. Mother Earth does not want hybridized Paleolithic, Hanuman, Genesis chapter 1 creatures and others, right? And others. As it is in the, as it is in the other mutable signs. So in other words, the other mutable signs, y'all remember the solstices and the equinoxes are what he's talking about. Okay, so those are more friendly toward hybrids. That's what he's saying. So let me go back. Mayo considers that the mutable earth combination produces people who are, quote, self-repressive, passive, restrained, with qualities of practicality, adaptability, and variableness. Okay? Qualities which manifest as an ability to, quote, collate and catalog, to create order, to systematize. This is coming from Carter in 1925, page 73. People in whom the Virgo principle operates strongly generally shun the limelight, but they are excellent workers, well able to provide a practical structure for someone else's grand but hazy, unformed idea. Manilius says that the stenographer or scripter comes under Virgo. Quote, one who can record in novel notation the long speech of a rapid speaker. Book 4, line 119. And the association of Virgo with secretarial work continues down to the present day. This aspect of Virgo as the devoted servant has been well described by Carter. It is not the sign of leadership, but of service. Okay, so in other words, the Moabitess woman is not out here trying to, should not, in the original culture, before the Moorish culture, the Moabitess culture, right? They were not trying to take the lead, but they were service oriented, serving their nation. It does not aim at brilliant results, but at useful ones. All right, so she wasn't out there trying to get the attention, the glamour, and the glory. So if she wasn't doing that, maybe the man was out front. Right? Okay. It is patient and does not turn from routine drudgery. All right, so she was a good helper, a good worker, right? It hates show and shuns responsibility and publicity. So the Moabite woman, in this case, would have been someone who wanted to be in the background. She wanted to be in the background. She didn't want a lot of shine. All right? She kept her business at home in her family. It is not ambitious, but is satisfied with a straight job and a fair wage. This is Carter, in the year 1965, page 73. So we know that that's not the case, right? Because we have an inheritance. You don't need a job. Jobs are for servants. So y'all take a look at that. Any of you women who might feel some kind of way about that, all right, pause the video and watch it, read it, or download it. It's on page 134. All right, page 134. Give me 1 second. All right, y'all. Make sure y'all support my project to write the book of the law in Ancient Ibaryath. Some of y'all call it Paleo Hebrew. I'm going to remove all of the lies and deceit, all of the mythology. I'm going to put back in it all of the text that was taken out. All right, I'm going to remove everything that was injected in. Okay? It's going to be written in a way that's easy to understand and so that you can check the meaning for yourself. So you'll see the text in Ibaryath. You'll see the pronunciation. So it's not just a word and you don't know how to pronounce it. Okay? You'll see the Ibaryath word with its pronunciation so you can actually read it. It'll have the etymological meaning there. All right, and it'll have what it how it is read in English before we finish it off, and make it into I don't want to give the terminology that we use in our classes, but we'll make it so that, or you'll be able to read it clearly and easily. Okay, some things if you want to know, you need to come to class. All right, some things that if you want to know, you got to come to class. Now, I'll put the parts of speech in there also. Okay, but this is a big job, y'all. This is a very big job. These religious organizations, they have a lot of money behind them. They have people who, teams of translators who do it. But me, I don't have a lot of money behind me. I'm asking you all to support the project so that I can pay for whatever services and equipment and software that I need. And this will not be something where I go buy a template from a organization who has Bible templates and you just put in the words you want to use, right? It's not going to be like that. Everything is going to be from scratch. I'm going to write it from scratch, type the whole thing out myself. So support it. I have no desire to suffer, live on soy sauce and rice and rainwater so I can write this book of the law. I'm not going to do that. I want your support, because once the book of the law is complete, it has to be marketed, it has to be distributed. This is a big project, all right? And it's going to take a lot of Federal Reserve notes and a lot of talent other than my own to put this together. So Islam to the Moors, Shalawama. My links to the Cash App and PayPal are in the description area of this video. You can see my work. I have about 7 books, I think, that I've published. You can see my work. The links are in the description area of the video. I'm inviting you to purchase my books. Go to zionlawschool.org and order them. Don't buy them on Amazon or any of the other online platforms, because they take way too much money out, right? It's actually not even worth selling your books on those platforms because they take so much money. So to support, buy my books on Zion Law School. The links are in the description area of the video. Y'all make sure y'all come to the Saturday class every Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You don't have to pay anything. Just show up. Make sure that you read the description area of the video. You can come check it out a couple times for free. The tuition is not expensive at all. All right, and I'll work with you on that. But I also have the 101 Ancient Ibaryath course. This is a subscription course, $10 a month. So y'all subscribe to that. That's where you're going to get the heavy-duty linguistic concepts. You're going to learn about Ancient Ibaryath from a linguistics point of view. There's no doctrine, no religion, and what you see in the course will change your life if you study it. Islam to all the Moors, and Shalawama.